What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Mind Something. If you're new here, my name is Jake, and in today's video we're going to talk about which GPU is the most efficient mining Kaspa. Let's talk about 4080 hash rates starting to come out, and then we've got a correction I need to make about mining pool stats. We're also going to talk about Project Thunder and its actual name, which is not Project Thunder, by the way. And then lastly, I wanted to talk about Grayscale not showing proof of reserves. So before we get into it, do me a favor, hit the like and hit the subscribe if you haven't already. We're going to jump straight into it. So first, we're going to take a look at profitability on the farm. Right now, Kaspa is coming in at $2.49 a day in profit after power at 10 cents per kilowatt hour. We've got Meowcoin at negative $6.68, and all of the ProgPow or Kapow algorithms are going to be about the same as far as your loss of negative $6 and some change. And then we've got Ergo coming in at negative $4.23, and we got Flux coming in at negative $5.11. And I'm hearing some rumors about Conflux. I believe that they are going to be switching algorithms, but I may be incorrect. I'm going to do a little bit more digging into this to let you guys know what I find. But there is a possibility that Conflux is going to switch to Ethash, and if that's the case, we may see a distribution of hash rate amongst another competitor. So that might be good for profitability on other things like Ethereum Classic or ETHW. Anyways, moving on, talking about the most efficient GPU, Kiwi Crypto Miner, shout out to him. This guy does a lot of different tests. And if you're not following his channel, I highly recommend it. He's got a pretty good selection of GPUs ranging from AMD to NVIDIA. And he does display a lot of his tests on YouTube. And he had two videos that were both titled the same thing, which was Most Efficient Kaspa Mining GPU. The 3070 video came out first, and this was prior to him testing a 6700. But I will leave a link to these videos below so that you guys can check it out for yourself. But to summarize, the 3070 was coming in at 6.96 megahash per watt at the wall. Keep in mind, not in software. In software, he was getting over 8 megahash per watt. And then on the 6700, he was at 7.7 megahash per watt at the wall, which is pretty outstanding, and perhaps the 6700 is more efficient mining Kaspa than a 3070. I don't have a 6700, so I can't do the test for myself, but I can tell you that in my test, the 3070 Ti was actually the most efficient, just edging out the 3070 by a very small margin. But yeah, depending on what I'm mining, if I'm mining Kaspa, I'm coming in at about 8 megahash per watt. If I'm mining Radiant, somewhere between 12 and 13 megahash per watt. Now, one thing about his 3070 video that I want to give you guys a heads up on is he's pushing his core clock offset up to 580, which is extremely high, and that may be necessary if your GPU is LHR. Now, in my test, I have not pushed a LHR GPU past 400 because in my 3070 Ti rig, I was getting some crashes if I put all of them at 400 with a locked core clock at, I think, 1400 and then locked memory at 810. It seemed like I had one in particular that was just did not like anything above 360, and I had another one that didn't like anything over roughly about 375. So I've got 4 out of the 6 running at 400, and the other 2 running at about 330 to 360, and that's getting me roughly about 8 megahash per watt. But as far as running them higher than 400, I have noticed, like, let's say for example in Red Panda Mining's video, there was somebody that provided him overclocks, and they had a difference between non-LHR and LHR, and it looked like all of the LHR overclocks were pushing the core offset up to 450. Now obviously a TI variant should be LHR, so I should be able to push them up to 450, but like I said, there's a couple of them that just don't like it. I'm going to test it again and see if I can push efficiency even higher. But right now, according to Kiwi Crypto Miner, his most efficient GPU is a 6700 XT, which is very interesting. Anyways, moving on, talking about hash rates, let's look at the 4080. So if you're not familiar with Dizzy Mining, he's doing some testing right now on his 4080. And the first thing that he tested was Kaspa. And we're getting 1,458 mega hash at roughly 200 watts in software, which is, I guess, in line with efficiency as the 30 series cards. However, on his Ethereum Classic testing, look at this, 91 mega hash at 181 watts was the best that he could get, which is very disappointing, but in line with my expectations. Now, for those of you who have been following the channel, you already know about my TPA calculator, but for those who are watching one of my videos for the first time, TPA Calculator is something that I created to basically assign a number to every GPU to compare them to one another across all algorithms, not just Ethereum. And using this formula, I came up with a calculator to predict hash rates on the 4000 and the 7000 series GPUs. And I find it, I feel vindicated. So in my hash rate predictor at 181 watts, that would give us 88 mega hash on a 4080, which is only 3 mega hash away, or 2.5 mega hash away from what his tests were actually providing. And one of the main reasons that a 4080 is not producing much higher than a 3080, or actually it's not even getting the same numbers as a 3080, but one of the main reasons is because of the bus size. So going back to the 3080, look at this. You got a bus size of 320, but if you look at a 4080, they've dropped it down to 256. And then also, looking at the CUDA cores, you know, there's not a substantial increase in CUDA cores here. And really what they're doing is they're dropping down parts to save money. So a smaller bus size is going to save them money. But what they're doing is they're increasing their base clock and their boost clock speeds. So if you compare that to a 3080, you can see 1440 and 1710 as opposed to 2205, which is, I don't want to say shady, but they're doing it to save money, and they're giving you maybe a higher performing GPU as far as gaming is concerned. But in reality, as far as cost, you know, charging $1,200 for a 4080, knowing that they probably have less in this card than they maybe have in a 3080, is just ludicrous. Anyways, to continue on here in regards to predicting hash rates on the other 4000 series cards, here's what I think we can expect. So on a 4070 Ti, I think we're going to be looking at about 83 mega hash at 200 watts. And on a 4070, I think we're looking at about 76 mega hash at about 160 watts. Now those numbers obviously will change depending on what type of efficiency you're trying to get. But let's say, for instance, if you used 160 watts on a 4070 Ti, you'd get 77.8 mega hash, but your efficiency would jump up considerably. And if you only used, let's say, 130 watts on a 4070, you don't lose a whole lot of mega hash, and look at this efficiency, we jump up to 0.56. So perhaps the 4070 will be a good card for mining ETH, but you know, as far as a 4080 and above, or 4070 Ti and above, it doesn't look like it's really going to outperform the 30 series as far as efficiency is concerned. Yes, we'll get higher hash rates, but you know, you could essentially just have more 30 series GPUs instead of paying $1,200 for a 4080. Just my opinion. Anyway, so going back to a mistake that I had made in a previous video, we were taking a look at mining pool stats, and I made the assumption that the list here was in order of highest hash rate to lowest hash rate. But thank you guys for those of you who corrected me in the comments. This is actually a list based off of volume. So as far as the trading volume is concerned, that's the order of greatest to least, I guess. So anyways, moving on, let's talk about Project Thunder, aka Fractus. So I noticed in a tweet someone was asking about Project Thunder, and Daniel Keller did jump in here and say, correct, Thunder is the project name and Fractus is the release name. So at some point we will not be calling this Project Thunder anymore. It will just simply be Fractus, and this is basically Fractus node, or maybe it's a Cumulus node and Fractus is, I don't know. None of this is very clear right now. I'm seeing lots of little hints being dropped, but we really don't have anything that's very solidified. I do want to give a shout out to AllSetMiner for providing this document here. So this is the Flux Bench Thunder, and essentially what it is just a guide telling you what you need or how to benchmark your node to make sure that everything is up to speed and will work properly. Anyways, I'll leave a link to this down in the description below so that you guys can check it out. But just to summarize, you need 1,000 flux, got to have at least 2 cores, 4 threads, 8 gigs of RAM, 240 EPS, 9,200 gigabytes of storage on a single partition, 10 terabyte hard drive. I do believe that you need a 20 terabyte hard drive, but perhaps I'm wrong. It's straight up saying Thunder requirements, only 10 terabyte hard drive. RAID is allowed. You need 80 megabytes of disk write speed and 100 megabytes download or upload speed. I was under the impression that this needed to be 200, so just a little bit of an update from the previous video for you guys. And then right now the farm is currently on Kaspa, and I am mining to the wallet address of Cookie Sucks, who won our hash rate giveaway contest. Right now they are getting roughly 11.5 gigahash, spinning about 1,800 watts, and right now Kaspa is still pumping. It is up 27.57% at the time of recording, which is Sunday afternoon at about 3 p.m. And it doesn't look like it's going to stop, guys. It's just going to keep going, which is outstanding. Now, at some point, we're going to pull back. Now, where we pull back to, if I were to guess, would probably be these levels of support at like 0.0066. I'm hoping that we do pull back because I do plan on dollar cost averaging in a little bit. And then for the winner of the contest right now, they have been paid over 1,000 Kaspa, and estimated is 946 Kaspa per day. So congratulations to you for collecting roughly about 2,000 Kaspa by the end of the 48-hour period, and then we'll be moving on and mining to AllSetMiner's wallet address. And then lastly, let's get into this article from Cointelegraph. Grayscale cites security concerns for withholding on-chain proof of reserves. So cryptocurrency investment product provider Grayscale Investments has refused to provide on-chain proof of reserves or wallet addresses to show the underlying assets of digital currency products, citing security concerns. In a November 18th Twitter thread addressing investor concerns, Grayscale laid out information regarding the security and storage of its crypto holdings and said all crypto underlying its investment products are stored with Coinbase's custodial services, stopping short of revealing the wallet addresses. We know the preceding point in particular will be a disappointment to some, Grayscale added, but panic sparked by others is not a good enough reason to circumvent complex security arrangements that have kept our investors' assets safe for years. The move by Grayscale comes as pressure mounts. Excuse me, guys, let me take a drink. All right, sorry about that. The move by Grayscale comes as pressure mounts on crypto businesses to introduce proof of reserves in the wake of FTX's liquidity issues and subsequent bankruptcy. Some Twitter users hit out at Grayscale's view that security concerns surrounded its decision to withhold its wallet addresses, with one commenting the addresses of Bitcoin inventor Satoshi Nakamoto are well known and are of higher value to attackers, yet Satoshi's Bitcoin remains secure. Grayscale shared a letter co-signed by Coinbase Chief Financial Officer Alicia Haas and Coinbase Custody CEO Aaron Schnark that broke down Grayscale's holdings by its investment products and reaffirmed the assets are secure, that each product has its own on-chain address, and the crypto always belongs to the applicable Grayscale product. Grayscale added that each of its products is set up as a separate legal entity, and laws, regulations, and documents prohibit the digital asset underlying the products from being lent, borrowed, or otherwise encumbered. Grayscale is known for its Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, a security tracking the price of Bitcoin. It also has products tracking the price of other cryptocurrencies such as Ether and Solana. Investor concerns come as Genesis Global, serving as the liquidity provider for GBTC, announced on November 16th that it had halted withdrawals, citing unprecedented market turmoil, resulting in significant withdrawals from its platform that exceeded its current liquidity. Genesis is a part of the crypto-focused venture capital company Digital Currency Group, which also owns Grayscale. GBTC is trading at a discount of nearly 43% compared to its net asset value, in part due to investor speculation on GBTC's exposure to Genesis. So I'm just going to weigh in with my opinion here. And first, I'd like to point out that I don't like the fact that they're not willing to provide proof of funds or reserves. It's a bit scary, but we obviously don't want to cause market panic. I think we're already in the midst of that, but I have my suspicions. If you're unwilling to provide this information, it doesn't look good, whether or not it's for security purposes or not. And like the Twitter commenter replied, look at Satoshi Nakamoto's wallet address. It's there, it's visible, and it's of a much higher value to attackers, and it's still secure. So essentially, they don't know they don't want us to know what's going on, is how I take this. They could have the majority in their funds being custodied by Coinbase. There may be parts in other places, but the reality of the situation is, if you're not willing to provide this information, then you obviously have something to hide. And what that may be is maybe they're not as secure as we hope they would be. If they're vulnerable just by showing where these assets are located, then obviously they're doing a very poor job of securing them. So I don't think it's a security concern in my honest opinion. I think that there is something amiss. Funds are being moved around and they just don't want us to see it. And, that reflects across the whole cryptocurrency industry right now. When things are done in secret, there's obviously something shady going on. Everything should be clear and open and on the chain. And if you're not willing to show proof of reserves, then you've got something to hide. Whether the funds are there or whether it's because your security sucks, I don't know. I can't speculate on their main motives for not providing this information, but I can say regardless of their motivation for not disclosing the information, it's shady. And it's as simple as that for me. Now, you guys may disagree. That's fine. Everybody's got their opinion. You are entitled to yours. But this may spell out more disaster. When you look at the parent company of GBTC being the Digital Currency Group, and also basically being the parent company for what was the other one here, Genesis. So these guys are in trouble, and the reason they're in trouble is because, as the saying goes, when the tide goes out, you see who's swimming naked, and we're getting to see who's swimming naked right now, and it's affecting the market drastically, and we could potentially see a lot more of this in the future. Now, how much further do we have to fall is the big question, and if these guys, if they tank and they go under and all of this Bitcoin hits the market, then yes, it's going to get ugly. Bitcoin could go below 10,000. And if it does, I'm backing the truck up and I'm getting everything that I can. But in regards to what's going on right now, all of this is because we're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. Bitcoin was created to get away from the legacy financial system. They manipulated it for decades, if not millennia, and it's time for a change. And society knows this, and that's why society is gravitating towards decentralization. And it's a war. It is an all-out war right now. My personal belief is that all of this, the market cycles and everything playing out the way that they're playing out, is a direct correlation to the war that we're fighting against the legacy financial system. And it's getting really nasty. It's getting to the point where we have the most corrupt people in the world in positions of very high power seats, and they're doing everything that they possibly can. They're grasping at straws, and they're not fighting fair, guys. They're biting, they're clawing, they're scratching, they're hitting below the belt, and they're trying to hide every bit of this. And I highly encourage you guys to pay very, very close attention. There's a lot of channels out there that cover this way more in detail than I'm going to go into. But you're on the right side of the fence, guys. Don't lose hope. One thing that we have to push for is we need to get companies to accept crypto. And we have to stop treating this as a get-rich-quick scheme. The only way that crypto is going to survive is if we are able to transact amongst ourselves and amongst businesses without a third-party intermediary. And that's how we get global adoption. As far as, regulation is concerned, crypto is already regulated. Don't let them blind you. Don't say that we need regulation to come in. It's already regulated. What we need is for people to be held accountable for their actions. And so far, that's not happening. And it looks like it's very possible that Sam Bankman-Fried and all these other guys are going to get off scot-free. So reach out to your congressman. Do your due diligence, whatever you possibly can. Don't go quietly into the night. Keep fighting, keep the faith alive, and I will see you guys on the next video.